founder to founder. My name is Arianna, and I'm the founder of More Magazine. And today we are hanging out in Ball and Biscuit, sitting with Casey and Kendall, two female founders I've had the pleasure of meeting at Maven events, and most recently joined us for our issue 6 happy hour. So thank you both for sharing time today and recently. And I'm just super excited. We've been kind of hanging out in the space for a little bit as I got set up, hearing about what the walls could say if they could talk. And we're going to dive into a little bit more about them, getting started in the food and beverage industry, and what is on the horizon, which I'm super thrilled about because you gave some teasers before we got started.
We did.
Yeah, lots of fun stuff.
Yes. Do you mind starting off with introducing yourselves?
Not at all. Go ahead.
Okay, perfect. I'm Kendall Lockwood. I am the operating partner at Ball and Biscuit and Babies Downtown. I've been in the restaurant beverage industry my entire life, essentially. I'm one of 8 kids.
Wow.
I'm the second oldest. My youngest sister is 23, and most of them have either worked for me or still do, which is really fun. I have a huge passion for creative cooking and just beverages in general. I wanted to be a chef for a really long time, and then I fell into the cocktail world and was like, oh, it's like cooking with liquid and you make more money. So, sorry to say, so I never really went into the culinary world until I opened my restaurant, which is like smash burgers, fried chicken sandwiches, fun spiked milkshakes. But that's a little bit about me. I hospitality is what I live, breathe, and love. So yeah.
That's amazing. Talk about like a little recipe for success, finding cocktails and going that route.
Yeah.
That's so cool.
Yeah. It's something that I didn't really have a plan for my life. I didn't go to college because I was like, I'm not sure what I'm going to spend my money on for a degree. And so I was like, I'm going to take a little while off. I was a flight attendant for a while. And then I was like, okay, I came home and I started working for my brother-in-law here at Ball and Biscuit as a manager. And I ended up buying him out. And I've been here for 14 years, and we've had this place for 14 years in July. And so it's not something I saw myself doing. I kind of fell into it, but it's become my love. I love travel and food and drink, and it makes me really happy.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
that's so cool. I think there's something really special about the way food can bring people together and breaking bread with the people you care about. And so to see that every day and to like be part of what makes those moments happen so special.
Oh, 100%. And my family is that same way. Like, I mean, you can attest at any family gathering that you are at, it is just covered in food and drink. And I mean, it's like who can make the best of anything, and it's so much fun. And it's like not necessarily a competition, but it's like we have some of the best food when we all come together, and so many people come and hang out that aren't necessarily in family. So it does bring like everyone from all walks of life, and we kind of just adopt anyone that comes to our front door. We're like, are you hungry? You want to come in? Because like if people didn't eat at my mom's house growing up, it was like, what's wrong with you? Like, you need to eat food. Like, it was, it was like if we didn't eat, it was like insulting to my parents. So it's like it was a total like, I don't know, they just raised us that same way. And then she comes over and I'm always like, here's some leftovers.
Yeah, I feel like it's their love language. It really is. It's the constant.
Yeah.
People are gathered around food, celebrating with food, always trying to feed you.
Yeah.
And everything's always delicious. So.
I'm also like really bad at cooking for me and my fiance.
Oh, yeah.
That's it. Like I'm like, I always cook for like a family of 10 on accident because that's how I was raised. And it was like, someone was like, here, Casey, here's like 17 boxes of leftovers.
Yeah, every time.
Yeah. That's true. Amazing. You gladly accept them. I appreciate it.
I sure do.
I don't like to waste food, so I'm like, here you go.
Yeah.
I mean, if it's as good as it sounds, I wouldn't say no either. It's hard to say no when someone's getting you food.
Well, absolutely.
Next time I'll bring you leftovers.
Oh, perfect.
Bring you some extra.
Okay, so follow-up interview with food
in Kendall's kitchen.
Yes. Well, Casey, let's hear a little bit about you.
So I'm Casey Whitley. I am not from the food and beverage industry at all. I've certainly worked in the service industry throughout my life as a hostess and a server, and I've got experience there, but my background largely is in corporate event planning, also sales and marketing. But I did go to IU. I had no idea what I wanted to do when I graduated and sort of fell into event planning, which turned out to be kind of the best thing that could have possibly happened for me because the company I worked for was really incredible. I met incredible people there, and I learned so many invaluable skills that have directly translated to everything else that I've done. But I think there's always been a part of me that has wanted to build something of my own, be my own boss, manage my own destiny. And as I've gotten older and, my interests have become more concrete, like I am a huge food and wine, good food, good wine, good cocktails, like super passionate about that, just like Kendall is. And traveling, experiencing different cultures and different places, and just kind of seeing what else is outside of our little bubble. I sort of fell into this with her as my best friend, but more on that later. But I grew up in Brownsburg. I have a little bit of a smaller family, just 2 sisters. Yeah, but yeah, I mean, this has been, I don't know, the opportunity and I don't know, career path choice of a lifetime. I think it's been super fun.
Yeah, definitely has.
Well, it's so fun to work with like your best friend every day too. So
yeah,
I hear you both look at each other with like that little spark and like talk about how fun it is to do what you do. How did Adult Spring Break get started? How did you two come together? I know we talked a little bit about how you guys went to high school together, but didn't necessarily always hang out or anything like that.
Yeah.
So
well, I'll give you like a little bit of a rundown on us, and then I'll have you give like the origin story for ASB. So Casey and I went to high school together, but we grew up in the same neighborhood. So like in Brownsburg. And
that is so funny.
I know.
And her husband actually grew up in the same neighborhood as well. So like really small world.
Tight circle.
Tight circle. And so we were friends, but we weren't like friends that like hung out a lot outside of school. Like it was just kind of like, you know, we were cool with each other, but it wasn't like we hung out in the same really circle of friends. And so in our adult life, like we went off, did college things. In our adult life, we reconnected here actually at Ball and Biscuit. And she was coming in with her husband and I was bartending, and she was like, you know, we need to hang out for sure. And I was like, yeah, we definitely should. And again, it took us like a couple years to actually hang out.
We were on a loop where I would come in and say that, and we'd be like, yeah, we should hang out. And then I would come in the next weekend and we'd have the conversation again. That happened for like 3 years. And
so long.
Yeah.
And like every time she came in, we had the best time. And then when we finally did hang out, it was kind of like, what is wrong with us? Like, why did we not do this so long ago? We've had this conversation multiple times.
Yeah.
Like, why did we not hang out more in high school? And like, we were like, well, maybe we wouldn't have been where we are, you know, if we did, and maybe we would, I don't know. So it's like funny to think about, but I know that like working with your best friend is something that can seem amazing, but also daunting because you don't want to destroy that relationship, because work is hard and creating a business is hard. And there are things that like speed bumps that you have to go over, and we've gone over probably every speed bump in the ready to drink category so far that we can. Mainly like
it's a tight smile.
Yeah. If there's been a bump, we've hit it. Definitely hit it.
Maybe pandemic driven and a lot of these things, but like, you know, there's still things that we're, you know, working through, which is good. But I think that we complement each other so well, in the sense that like when I'm having kind of a freak out moment, she's calm about it, and then when she's having a freak out moment, I'm calm about it. And it's like we really balance each other. And the more that we work together, the more that we hang out, I think that we feel more excited to continue to grow this business than we do feel like, oh, I can't see her again today, I need a break, or like, you know, stuff like that. Like how you would feel if like you couldn't work closely with somebody.
Right.
And so it's been truly like an anomaly, like just,
I think so.
Honestly.
Yeah.
Like it's been the best of both worlds, and I love, you know, like Ball and Biscuit and Babies, and I have a different business partner with these businesses, but like ultimately like my goal is to retire and focus on Adult Spring Break. And it's because of the energy that we bring together, the fact that we believe in the brand so much. And it is something that we wanted to build together, but we didn't know it was this brand.
Yeah.
Right before the pandemic, we I'll lead in and let Casey kind of get into that origin story, but right before the pandemic, we were talking about opening up a different style business that was like a brick and mortar. Yeah. Thank God we didn't, because it would not have made it through the pandemic, because we would have had to shut down because of
immediately
just the social distance type stuff. And it would have failed, just from not being able to have business in the doors. And so like that leads into like the pandemic starting, and then Casey and I just like,
so I was still event planning at the time the pandemic started, and I was a contract employee, so I was like the very first to go, especially because it was corporate. People stopped traveling, budgets were frozen, all that stuff. So I was without a job almost immediately, and I at that time lived about 3 minutes from Kendall. So I was spending a lot of time with her. She was kind of the only other person I was seeing besides my husband on any kind of a regular basis. And so spending a lot of time together, we were drinking a good amount, as many of us were during the pandemic.
Iced tea, no checking.
Yeah, no.
Iced tea with
a little extra something. Yeah, so we kind of ran the gamut of what was available ready to drink wise. Like we'd get sick of wine, so we'd try, you know, some new ready to drink that we'd never heard of, but the packaging is pretty and all this stuff. And so the common theme we were discovering throughout all of that is that we didn't ever find anything we felt was like truly ready to drink. We felt like, you know, things needed a little soda water, or they were way too sweet, or they were way too boozy. And that conversation kind of continued. And I think one day I kind of like nudged her and I was like, you know, you make some of the best cocktails I've ever had. Like, a lot of people do this poorly or mediocre at best. Like, you could do it really well. And from there, we just started snowballing. And
okay, we started snowballing. A week later, we had an LLC because of her.
I
okay,
mean,
so let's be real.
Well, look, the snowball picked up steam quickly.
We like casually talked about it, and in a good way. Like, we were like, what would we call it?
Yeah.
And we were like, oh, we go on adult spring break every year with our friends, and we can talk more about that later. But like, she like totally. I was working 7 shifts, 6 days a week at Babies, trying to keep it open. So I was like extremely busy. And then we decided to take on this project.
Yeah, I was like, why don't we just do another one?
Yeah,
I mean, you're not,
sure.
You can handle that. Just kicked her right off the cliff into this new business. And we, you know, we developed for like a year and a half. But like she said, we were talking about, you know, what would we call it? And we do take an adult spring break every single year with a couple of our other best friends. And it seemed super appropriate because that adult spring break for us, we have to plan so far in advance. Mm-hmm. It's like so ironic that when you're young, all your breaks are built in. Even if you don't do anything, you're forced to take them. You have built-in self-care time that you just don't understand what it is. And as adults, you don't have that. You have to work really hard for that. And when you get it, you cherish every single moment of it. And so some of the best times we've had have been on these trips where we really feel like we get to reconnect with our friends and truly have like meaningful conversations that aren't 5 minutes because we have to get to a meeting or other responsibilities. And so it feels very nostalgic and just, it's like our happy place.
Yeah.
It just seemed like a really good name for a line of cocktails that we wanted to inspire that nostalgia for other people, you know, to make it feel like you're taking a sigh and you're taking a moment for yourself. And that obviously doesn't always have to be with alcohol, but at the end of the day, if you want a cocktail, we want that cocktail to make you feel like I'm on vacation for 5 minutes, you know?
I locked myself in my pantry while my kids are screaming outside.
Yeah.
I had a sip of our cucumber basil lime and it tastes like I was at the spa.
Yeah.
So, like, that's a vibe. And it's not like we're not saying like, oh, please go get wasted. But at the same time, like, you know, like, please buy our product. Right. But, you know, like, it, for us, like, I mean, I know for me at the end of a long day, I'm not always a person that like goes and reaches for a glass of wine or something. But like, before we had our product, I make really good cocktails, but I'm not coming home after making cocktails all day and juicing fresh juice and making syrups and shaking a cocktail for myself. It's like the last thing you want to do if that's your everyday job for yourself. So I was always like a pour wine or like grab a beer and like, or like, you know, tequila soda, which is very easy, you know, but it's like none of these ready to drink cocktails were truly ready to drink, like she said. And so there are seltzers, like, you know, like High Noons, and we all drank our fair share of seltzers.
Yeah,
let's be honest.
we love a High Noon.
But at the same time, it's a seltzer, it's not a cocktail. And so like that is the difference, is like there really wasn't anything. And like, not to be like, oh, look at me because I really hate this brag, but I'm a nationally award-winning bartender, and I just wrote the cocktail program for Gordon Ramsay's Steak in Southern Indiana, and you know, like, hopefully more to come with them down the road. But it's truly like, I'm currently consulting for Nando's in Broad Ripple, and I wrote their cocktail program. Like, we want the world to have really amazing drinks. And how often do you go places where the food is great but the cocktails are terrible, or the cocktails are amazing and the food's just so like, there's not enough of that in Indiana in particular, in my opinion. And like, we want to also help with like the bartenders behind the bars that are struggling to make drinks because they're having a hard time staffing. So like, we've kind of thought of everything as far as like format. And
well, I think too, you know, the adult spring break is fantastic on premise in restaurants and bars, and for that exact reason too. So someone's struggling with labor and they need someone who can be consistent. You can't screw this up. But on the same vein, like, Kendall's obviously someone who can whip up a amazing cocktail at any time and place. Like, I, on the other hand, I mean, I could follow a recipe, like, for sure, but I'm not a bartender. I'm not that tuned in like she is with her palate. So if I want a really good cocktail, I'm never going to stock my home bar with all the things that I need to make it. And even if I did, it probably wouldn't be as good as if she were to make it. So I feel like we've solved a problem there too, because we really have, you know, good quality bartender style cocktails, like actual cocktails that you do no work for, that are delicious.
That's awesome. And I think the first time I went to your website, it says on there, it's not selfish, it's self-care. And what you were kind of speaking to, I think like we said earlier, breaking bread, like taking time to just like be, and it's not getting smashed. It's making time to like be with the people you want to be with, and it's making it easier because you don't have to like figure out what you're gonna make
Nope.
or go to the grocery store and get all these things. But it's bringing something home that then like makes time for a cheers, for a toast, to celebrate something, or just to celebrate the end of the day.
Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. And taking that sip and then like all of a sudden you having that like, oh, I remembered to breathe today kind of moment. I think we've all had that with like, you know, a cocktail or a sip of wine or like whatever it might be, but you know, take a sip and you're kind of like, okay, like my day is done. I can now unwind and take a break for myself. And again, it doesn't have to be because of the alcohol, but it does force you, like you did something for yourself and took that moment.
Yeah.
So I think that's definitely.
That's some people's treat yourself as just a glass of wine or their favorite cocktail or whatever it is. And hopefully we've made that a little bit more accessible and a little easier.
Definitely.
Yes, definitely accessible. I love it. After the first time I met you guys for a tasting at Maven Space, somebody bought one of the bottles, and like it was just so easy because then like we were eating and it felt like it was somebody's home dinner, and like we were just pouring it and we were just all getting to know each other, and it
I love that.
It was so fun.
I know exactly what table you're at too, because you bought the cucumbers and and you're just like, it was so like it really your table felt like I was like, I would sit with them, I want to hang out with them, like it was so much fun.
Well, it turns out the guy who bought it I had been talking to that whole week for like our wedding planning, because they were from another vendor space.
Oh yeah.
And so it was so funny because I was like, your voice sounds so familiar, and he's like, I know I've been talking to you, but I don't know where. And so then it was just like this funny realization that I'd been calling confused about cocktail tables because I don't know anything about tablecloths.
That's
so
amazing.
I had to call back a bunch.
I love that though. It's such a small world. It really is.
It's
so
fun.
silly.
It was good. But I mean, so you have the bottles now that we have seen. I've heard from a little birdie that there's something else on the horizon. So what's coming up?
We're launching another format. We're doing cans. And am I allowed to say the
I would say
flavor?
Yeah.
Okay, so we have 4 of our 6 flavors are going into cans. So there'll be a slight carbonation, but not a crazy amount, because I know some people really like our products because there isn't carbonation. So the cucumber, the passion fruit pineapple, the grapefruit lime, and then the coconut lemon will all be in like 12-ounce cans. But we are also launching a small format, like 8-ounce can of an espresso martini. It's nitro, and you just have to shake it and then pour it into a martini glass to get that froth, or you could just drink it out of the can.
That's amazing.
Very excited.
And again, all of our stuff is all premium, and so we're pretty excited.
No dairy?
No dairy.
That's amazing. We were talking about bachelorette parties this weekend, and I'm pretty sure 3 of us were down for the count Saturday morning because we had so much dairy.
Oh God!
So that's just awesome. I think of like so many friends who have just gotten into espresso martinis, but the problem was we were like, we don't have any espresso. Wow.
Yeah.
That's a gap. And you're filling it.
Yeah.
We're trying, and I mean, here's the thing: it's like, think about going to like a concert late night, or like, you know, going to, I don't know, like a matinee or something, or
anywhere,
or like a brunch with your friends, like you just said. Like, sometimes you just want a little bit of coffee, and we want to spike
it. Pick me up. I'm personally most excited about that one because I know how good it is, and I'm really excited to be able to have that in my home whenever I want it.
I can honestly say, like, we're not coffeeaholics, but we're not coffeeaholics. And like, I was a barista for a while. I've had many lives. Anyway, so I was a barista for a while, and I think that I can say that coffee is what taught me to be a good bartender, because like I worked at Starbucks, and it was like the amount of drinks that come through that place. They were always like, Kendall, you're making all the drinks, because I was fast at it. Then it makes you like a good bartender because you have to memorize all this stuff. Right. But like, coffee was kind of my first mixology love, if you will. Like, it was like, oh, you can create this and play with that, and like I don't think that I realized that was the path I was going down when I was a barista, like when I was 20. Right. But like at the same time, like I think this espresso martini is like above and beyond what's out there, and we've tried a lot, and we try through everything that could possibly be competition for us, and we want to just like not squash, but like make it above and beyond what anybody else has out there. Because like that was the goal. There's so many people that throw money at this category because they have it, but don't take the time to really put in the research and the hours to make sure everything tastes great. They just want to get it out on the shelf because it's so competitive. And we started developing in early 2020 for our bottles, and then we didn't even launch till December 23rd of 2021. So like we took almost 2 full years
to develop. I think
develop and make sure. Now,
yeah.
mind you, there were
well, there were a lot of
speed
bumps we went over,
happened.
but I think truly one of the things that really sets us apart from a lot of other brands out there is the balance of it all. The alcohol content of every cocktail that we have is the same as you would get in a single serve, you know, across a bar. But I think the balance of flavors is really nice. Like, you know, we mentioned earlier, a lot of the ready to drinks that we were trying, we felt like you can taste the hangover sometimes with the sugar amount, or like the booze is just so in your face that you can't even taste the rest of the flavors you're supposed to be tasting.
Or it's like malt liquor because they wanted something that was so cheap that they could bring the price down. But like, all of us at our age are willing to pay for a higher quality to feel fine the next day, or to feel not like you drank a can with malt liquor in it. You know,
well,
like,
and
exactly.
to that point, like,
but some people, I mean, we're just not 22-year-olds.
Yeah,
anymore.
we also don't use any artificial colors, flavors, or sugars. So the sugar that's in there, the small amount that we use, it's real sugar. So your body naturally knows how to process that. Like, you can taste the difference between like a chemical cucumber flavor and real cucumber. You know, like we were very, very, very picky, which is I think part of the reason why it took us so long to develop and land on our final product, because we were like completely unwilling to settle for anything less than exactly what we wanted it to be.
Well, and then the two that do have a little more of like a higher sugar content, and not even because of the sugar, but because like passion fruit and pineapple are just, you know, they're fruits that are sweeter, right? Coconut, lemon, like those are things that are a little sweeter naturally. And so we actually put coconut water in both of our rum cocktails, those two flavors. So you literally, we've tried really hard to be hungover off of them. It's not working.
We had to do our research, you guys. I mean, we had to.
That sounds really tough.
Yeah,
R&D.
Look, it was a lot
Next
of.
time we'll just invite you to the pool. It's fine.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm in marketing. I'm interested in R&D research.
See, so you'll be on our list for the next round of focus groups. Yeah, it's a lot of really tough, long, great conversation and cocktails. So we'll call you.
We're definitely gonna have some big launch parties for these cans. So we'll keep you posted. And and actually, we're opening several of the launches to just public, because the first one was invite only for our bottles, and I think we're just excited to blow this up.
Yeah, we want everyone to have it.
That's amazing.
Right away.
Well, you have been so intentional with like creating it and building the brand and building the product, and I think it's tasted. People notice the difference. I got so many texts after the launch party asking like, will you remind me again of who was there, like where will they be next, blah blah blah. And it just, your intentionality, I feel like, is making the waves that I'm assuming you wanted it to make when people experience it. And in the community, it sounds like people are also wanting to follow suit with you. And I know you have some partnerships coming up. Do you mind speaking on those?
Yeah, you go ahead.
Yeah, we're very excited. We just this year signed on to be a sponsor for the Indiana Fever, which we are so pumped about. So we'll be featured, you know, on ads throughout their digital boards for their games, but also we get to do ASB samplings at 4 of their games this season. Yeah. So our first one's actually this Sunday, June 4th. So we'll be on the main concourse sampling out for any ticket holders, and we're so excited about. I know that crowd of Fever fans is super engaged. We cannot wait to meet so many of them. We've been lucky enough to go to their draft pick night.
Cool. That's amazing.
Yeah, to see them pick the number 1 draft pick, and I think there's a lot of hype around the season, and we're just really excited to be a part of it.
Completely. And then also, because we're doing that, we got noticed by Hotel Indy, and they're so close to Cambridge that it's still Cambridge, right?
Yeah.
All of our stuff is
you never can tell.
Like, which one? Because Deer Creek is still Deer Creek for us. Let's be real. But
yes,
they saw that we were doing a partnership with Fever, and they reached out to us, and now we have a partnership with Hotel Indy, and that's actually where one of the can launches that we're doing is going to be. But we're doing tastings before and after our games, not both, but like if it's a 4:00 game, we're doing tastings in like for a brunch time, and they're doing a DJ and bringing in a bunch of stuff. And then if it's a 7:00 game, we're doing more of like an after party tasting on the rooftop.
Yep.
So that's going to be really fun. But there's a lot of really exciting things happening with Hotel Indy down the road as well.
Yeah.
And of course, we have a partnership with Babies, and I know it's mine, but I don't really bring a ton of adult spring break into Ball and Biscuit because what we do is cocktails. And you can obviously buy bottles here, but at Babies we do an all ages drag brunch the second Sunday of every month, and in particular this month, I think we have a couple tickets left. June 11th is our drag brunch, but we're bringing back all the ladies of legend that used to perform at the Talbot Street location that we took over once it shut down. So we like to keep the history of the space, but we serve a ton of adult spring break there, and then you can also purchase bottles like for your table service or also just to like take home, which is really fun. So
that is so cool.
Yeah.
I love to see people in the community like working together. I feel for me, I'm always inspired by community and connection. And so it's so cool to see you working with like other locally owned businesses and people who like are especially Fever. That's just
it's
so rad.
It's so great. And our I guess I don't know if you would call them like our liaisons. They're the two women that we work with they sought us out to see if we'd be interested in sponsorship. We've worked with them. Like it's just we formed a really good partnership with them. I would hang out with them, outside of our sponsorship, but it's cool just to be a woman-owned business supporting our WNBA team and working with two incredible women who have helped us make it all happen. And we love to support any local business. Indy is so great about that, and I think we take any opportunity. We've done tons of stuff with like Maven Space and Indie Hub. They've been great to us as well, but the more we can do that and just be ingrained in the community, the better.
And I can honestly say, like, I know this is a super nerdy moment, but they showed us like the big screen, that's going to be the like rotating screen. That's like,
the Jumbotron.
Yeah. And like they showed us what the like highlight for our product's going to be, and I'm going to freak out seeing like our logo that big on one national television, but also like in a place where locals are seeing the brand and it's getting so much exposure. So like this is a partnership that just made sense, but also like we're still like very much fangirling about like our logo being popped up in places, and I'm just like, oh my God, like I kind of geek out a little bit about it.
It's a major thing for us. We haven't had thousands of eyes on our brand at any one time. So this will be the first experience we really have for that, which is great.
That's amazing. And so I mean, thinking about these accomplishments and achievements, like that's gonna rock my world. I'm sure it's gonna rock your worlds when it happens. How do the two of you inspire yourselves?
Man, I think I'm not going to speak for you, but I do know, like I said, we travel a lot. Yeah. And we love finding like good food, good drink, and I think we inspire each other, honestly. Like we talk almost daily, if not 17 times a day.
Yeah, almost daily. Like, what are you talking about?
It is daily. I mean, I probably call you 6 times a day. I would say. Yeah. But when she goes on vacation, like her husband, like with her husband, I'll be like, "Can you come home now? Like, I need you to like come back to the house." Anyways, not to our house, but you know what I mean. It feels that way.
Yeah, anyway, home base. There you go.
Yeah.
So, anyways, I think inspiration wise, like for me personally, like I've traveled a lot. I've studied spirits. I take a lot of inspiration from like cooking again, like I said, and so I think for me, it's like when I taste either a dessert or a savory dish, or like I'm super weird. My dad's a food scientist, and she can attest to this. Like when we go places, I'll taste something and I'll be like, it needs a little bit of this, or like it, I'm not going to change anyone's stuff because I'm not going to be rude and like whatever. But like if you get a bad cocktail, I'm pretty good about being like, okay, this is what it needs for us to fix it, so we're going to ask for that, but we're not going to tell them. We're just going to put it in and be done. Because again, I'm not going to insult anyone's cocktail program.
Right.
But I think for me, it's just like I find the science and the flavor combinations of things so fascinating, and it's just how my brain works, and I love it. So like eating and drinking and traveling and trying out new things and learning new things in that way is such an inspirational thing for me. But I also think the inspiration for me comes from when people try our stuff and they're hesitant to try, because they are liter bottles, so it is intimidating to purchase that. Like, but if we do tastings at like Total Wine and people take a sip, like the amount of people that light up when they try our stuff is such an inspiration for me. I'm like, this is why, like, I just want to keep doing this. I love, again, hospitality like runs through my veins. Like, I just love seeing people enjoy something. And again, it's my love language. So I think that for me is a huge inspiration, but I don't want to speak for you.
I think I definitely draw inspiration from some of the same things. I'm not a naturally like incredibly creative person like Kendall is. So I'm very much an analytical, maybe probably over analytical. So, and this is not my world. I mean, it is now, but it hasn't been in the past. And so I think for me, the fact that I've been able to like teach myself so much throughout this process and overcome a lot of obstacles without like having someone to go to directly about that is, I don't know, it just kind of, it gives me a little bit more of that like mental toughness. Like, yeah, I can do this. I can do this. Like, this isn't my forte and this hasn't been my industry like it has been for hers. But especially when you're, building a business, which I've also never done before, I think just overcoming little obstacles and continuously learning. And I surprise myself sometimes how like I can figure things out. That has been huge. But also just, I mean, honestly, I draw a lot of inspiration from her too. And I think that was one of the main reasons why I didn't hesitate to go into business with her on this, is because I've seen her for the last decade building a reputation, a good reputation, seeing her successfully run these businesses and juggle as much as she has and do it well and do it like she makes it look easy, which I know that it's not, but I mean, I know very well that it's not, but it's just, it is inspiring to see because she's kind of a trailblazer in her field. There aren't that many women that are running things the way that she is here. So,
well, but in turn, I know we compliment each other a lot because truly it's how we feel. It's not just like, oh, we're on camera, so like I'm gonna say really nice things about Casey. Like the balance we were talking about earlier in our friendship, like, yes, I'm creative and that's my side, but I'm also still running 2 other businesses and she's still doing all of her corporate event planning. But the amount of work that she's taken on to learn the back end of the stuff that we're doing, because like I'm in the industry, but like a restaurant is completely different than building a ready to drink cocktail brand. There's so much more legality behind it. Like we talked, like shipping in Indiana, what's legal in what states, like what kind of codes and legal things you have to pass in order to get something on a label. There's so much that I'm learning as well, but she has dove in so hard, and without her doing that, we would not be where we are. Like I get that, like the creative flavors of things is my brain, but that to me comes so easy. But there's been so many, like we said, speed bumps, and the truth is she's just taken them head on, and we've done it together, but there's been so much that I haven't been able to get to because I'm still doing these places, which again, I want to focus on. I don't want to ever let my people down that are in the businesses working for me, but at the same time, like there's no way this would be possible without the amount of research and effort and time that she has put in. And so that balance that we've created is like, it's a very amazing, like yin and yang.
You have to have both. And I think we both excel in different ways. And as she mentioned earlier, like when I'm having a bad day, she's calm. And when she's having a bad day, I'm calm. Like, I think that's one of the things that really makes the business relationship we have just really stellar.
Agreed.
No, that's awesome. And just as we're chatting, I want to make sure we're talking about all these great drinks and things that you're doing. How can we keep up with you?
Oh man, so social media is always a go-to. I mean, there's all new algorithms and things that keep changing, which we all know.
Yes.
But it's at ASB Cocktails, and then Facebook's the same.
Yeah.
And then, I mean, we're posting constantly on social media. You can follow us on our website, www.asbcocktails.com. Again, acronym for Adult Spring Break. I know when we say that, sometimes I get Florida people say ABS, and I'm like, it's not abs. Okay. But Adult Spring Break, so ASB Cocktails. And we love when people affectionately refer to us as ASB. That's, you can see that on our logo. And I think, like we're going to start selling probably some merch and stuff like that. So come to follow Hotel Indy, follow Fever. I know they're going to post about us constantly. So again, that's social media is the biggest thing I think for us.
No, that's great. Awesome. So